Right. So today, first we want to do a quick revision on Node.js, and also we have done bit of Node.js, but today I want to do it the full revision, and also I have not covered Express, so I want to cover Express also. Okay. Right. First we'll do a quick revision on Node. So then we'll move on to Express because I have added some more contents to your Node.js note as well. So remember, Node.js is 100% JavaScript based full stack technology where you can do end-to-end from full stack, both client and server. Otherwise, the conventional approach was client side JavaScript, HTML, CSS. Server side, either we go for ASP.NET, JSP servlet, or PHP. Now here we use do all. Okay. Still, we rely on HTML and CSS, but then it will be HTML, CSS, and everything else is JavaScript. Okay. Uh, right. So, so Node.js is basically uh, client server side JavaScript framework. Right. Originally developed by Chrome. Then they make it sort of open source. It open source, cross-platform, Node.js run on any OS, and event-driven, non-blocking, lot of support for asynchronous communication. Lightweight, because you don't need a server. In all the server-side approaches, you need a server, like Apache Web Server, Tomcat Server, IIS Server. Here, Node.js itself is a very lightweight server or process. Okay. And supplemented by other technologies like Angular React for client side, and Node.js, Express in the server side. Okay, right. So I explain you how to install Node.js. It's simply you download and install it. Right, download the install and install it. So then you can check whether Node is installed. Right, by type Node. Okay, and then you can write JavaScript in your console as well. And Node.js by default install the essential packages only. Therefore, if you need additional packages, we use something called Node Package Manager (NPM) to automatically install your packages. The good news is when we install a package, if there are any dependent packages, so those will also be downloaded and installed in the background, so that we don't need to look for the dependencies. Okay. So therefore, when you install Node.js, NPM is also installed, right? So therefore, you can use NPM also to work with third-party packages. For example, Express is a third-party package. Okay. So this is how you install NPM install your module name. Update module name. That is, if newer version is available, it will be downloaded from the repository and installed.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Uh, in web development, how is work typically divided between design and development tasks?
Your question is not very clear. Can you repeat?
In web development,
Okay.
uh, how how is work typically divided between design and development tasks?
In modern terminology, actually we are more into the design, full stack. That means everyone doing bit of design and development. But in traditional sense, senior architects and that kind of people involved in the designing, and the junior people involved in developing. So that is a traditional sense. But still, that is there. Like the architecture and so on is done by senior people with at least about four. When we say senior, it doesn't mean 20 years of experience, right? Senior means in IT field, software development field, about 3 to 4 years of experience. So they do the overall responsibility of architecture, deciding the technologies and so on. So
Okay.
then the development activities are more given to the developers. But when you are assigned something, because now we are into the full stack, so basically the software developer need to do bit of design, development, testing, all the things. So basically, so different functionalities of different user stories are assigned to different development team members. So if you are a junior development team member, you will be assigned simple tasks initially. Actually, when you first, if you are in the first job, usually you are not assigned any developing any functionalities. Usually, you will be spending fixing bugs, maintaining the build and that kind of things at least for 3, 4, 5 months. So then when you get familiar and depending, then they can sense, are you okay? Are you comfortable? So then developers are given more and more responsibilities, and it all depends on the individual. Some people get more responsibilities quickly. Some people will not get a lot of responsibilities, right? So they will only get in the very small tasks, and it depends on individual talent, individual uh, attitude, and so on. So that is why some people very quickly become sort of a senior software engineers, designers, and within 3, 4 years. And some people they stay. Actually, some people they get out of the field also, so they can't survive. Like they don't get increments and sort of things because they are not up to the standard, right? So the in general, it depends on whether you are a player, B player, C player, or something like that. So the A players get more responsibilities. B, C players get less responsibilities or less critical tasks or less difficult tasks. But the expectation is once you become at least 1 to 2 years experience, so you need to work, especially in website, web application side, you must be a full stack developer because now the technology stack is also very pretty much compact. You can't separate client side and server side, especially when it comes to Node.js and so on, right? So everything is developed as a whole. So therefore, you will be guided with the high level design or architecture. So then you will be assigned individual tasks. So that task you need to work end to end from UI to uh, back end, integrating with other systems and so on. So that is the simple answer. Okay. These days things are more and more responsibilities are divided among all the team members, right? Rather than dedicated designers, dedicated UI developers, dedicated backend developers. Very rare now we have that kind of thing. Still, we have something like business analysts, QA engineers, UX designers. They are there, but software engineers, pretty much the expectation is you do end to end, right? Especially in web applications. Okay, right. So this is how you install, update, uninstall, okay, depending on your requirements, okay, npm, and then the package name or the module name, right? So how do you initiate a project? Once you install node.js, npm init, so then it will create you the package json, and you will quickly create a new project, and we'll quickly go through all the examples we did last time and then continue from that point. Okay, codes. So remember, still you are in the semester two. So your web development two is also there. Okay. So in web development two, you will learn more concept like asynchronous communication, other server side technologies like PHP. So then only you can take design decisions. So you can't take design decisions knowing one technology stack. So design decisions can be taken by people who have experience with multiple technology stacks because then they know, especially architecture, high level design decisions, because then they know how to do it in PHP, how to do it in Java, JSP servlet, maybe how to do it in ASP.NET. So then you know what are the pros and cons. But if you know only one language, one technology stack, right? You have no idea what are the alternatives. So that is why the junior people not involved in architecture and technology selection, but definitely very quickly they get the responsibilities in developing specific tasks because by that time the technology architecture is decided. Okay, right. So let's create a folder here, and we will do all Node.js related things in this folder. Okay, I'll call this revision. Revision. So I have installed Node.js. That is only prerequisite, right? Nothing else, just the Node.js. And of course, I have already installed uh, the database, okay? MongoDB, that we already done. Right. So then take a command prompt. I'll do it as a practical thing again, but very quickly, especially the first part because we have already done that. And take a command prompt, uh, go to the drive folder, right? So then you just type npm init. That is because in case in the future we want to download any third party, of course we need to do like Express is a third party library package. So you just need to say npm init, and it will create that JSON file. Okay, why is that error? You need to give it a name. Okay, you need to give it a name. No, right? Why it is not giving me errors? Ah, no, it's just asking me the package name and so on, right? Okay, I'll just go for the. I thought there's an error message. Sorry for that. Okay, right. Version, I will just go with the defaults. Right. So it has just created the package JSON file. Okay. It has a brief introduction into your project. That's it, right? This is for the npm package manager. Okay. Let me close all the files so that we have only out of code. Right. Right. So now we can start working on examples very quickly. Right. So then remember we have core modules, which are built-in modules in when you install Node.js. So those things you can just use it. But other mod, or you can develop your own modules. Or third one is you can use third-party available modules. Right. So these are the most widely used core modules like HTTP module, the FS module. Okay. Uh, and this is the simplest possible Node.js program uh, that is just sending some output to the browser. Okay. So this has no routers or whatever the URL, as long as path, it will come to this one because we have not restricted. Okay. So this is the sort of a simplest. Uh, uh, Rather than I'm copy pasting this code, I will take the code from my already available one. Otherwise, it will take time because your exams are also nearing. Okay. Uh, Only thing is, I'm not going to type the code. That's it. Okay. I just copy paste the code from there so that I don't need to code it. Okay. Again. So where was that revision? Let's skip this file. I just skip the package JSON file. Right. So the first one is the hello.js file. So that is a minimum sort of a Node.js. So we only depends on the HTTP module, which is a built-in module. So you just need to say require and take it to a variable. Okay. So then the HTTP object is basically object has a method called create server built-in method. For that, you send this is called anonymous function. This is called anonymous function, and this is called method chaining. Right. First we call the create server method, then we call the listen method. Right. So that is means something like you call the X method and then call the Y method. Then if you want, you can call another valid method, dot another method. Right. So that is to make it compact. And this is when you create a server, we implement the functionality of the server in our method itself. That is what you learn in semester one, anonymous objects. So this is similar concept, right? Inside the parameter, you have implemented this particular function, right? Because this is inside the parameter. Sometimes what you get confused is if you are not very sure about the anonymous classes, inner classes, that kind of concept in semester one. So now you are in trouble, right? So this is similar concept. This is anonymous callback function, okay? And it has the request and response as two parameters. Uh, Request is to get anything from the request. Response is where you send the response. So whatever you write to the response will be sent to the browser or the requested browser. Okay, so here we are not going to work with requests. You can see we are not using correct parameter. We are only using the rest parameter. To that rest parameter, we are writing a head. So when you send HTTP response, the response has head and body. Okay, so head has what kind of resource we are sending and the response status. Is it valid? So 200 means okay, valid response. And content type is text HTML. So there are uh, things that you can set to the head, but usually these are the two that we are interested most of the time. Okay, so then we are sending the uh, content for our web page. And if you send it with n, that means that is the end because there's something called method router chaining. So the same request can be handled by multiple methods. But if you see end, that means that is the end of the response. So then the response will be sent to the browser. It is not looking at other methods, right? Otherwise, you can just call it and say next. That means ask. We will do that kind of examples also. Okay. And this is the port number. Remember, this is now we are going to run a small web server or process which is going to work with the network. If a program is working with network, we need to bind it to a port number because when you get a data packet, of course, here we are testing with my own machine, but the idea of web server is uh, some other machine in the network, or if it is mapped to a domain name, any machine in the internet should be able to access or call your web server. So therefore, you will be getting data packets, and those data packets must be given to this server. So then how the operating system knows to which server this data packet must be given or to your Node.js server. So that is why we have given a number, right? It can be any number, right? Then your data packet has, if the data packet has a port number, definitely data packet must have. By looking at the port number, your operating system give it to the correct running program. Right? In this case, when you send request, you must set it with port number 80 or let's say 8080, right? 8080. Right, so that's it. So this is simplest possible uh, response. We just send hello world, body and header status 200 and content type text HTML. And we have bound it to 8080. Okay, right. So then you need to start this. You need to start this. How to start this? Just remember we have written it in a JS file. Just say node and file name. Node file name. I have numbered it so that it's easier for me and enter. So if there are any errors, you will see. If you don't see any error, that means there's no error. Okay. So then how do you access it? Because we have not bound that program to any URL. So therefore you can just type localhost and port number, colon port number. In our case, we bound it to 8080. So therefore localhost 8080. Okay. So we got hello world because we are sending hello world with style color red, right? So here we can write any HTML, CSS, or any JavaScript also client side JavaScript. Okay. So that is the simplest, right? And if I type any other URL also, like say /abc, still I get the response. Still I get the response because I have not bound this to any particular uh, URL, right? URL. So therefore, whatever the say /abc/xyz, whatever, you will get the same response. That is not the way to do, but because this is sort of a hello world application, right? So that is how you start. Okay, that is how you start. Right. So now let's move on very quickly. And again, if you don't specify 8080 or any other port, you will get error, right? Say if you don't specify 8080, so this will time out after sometimes. You can see nothing. This is the old response. For example, if I type it in a different tab, you will not get the response, right? So by default, your browser will, whenever request is sent to the server, your browser will always check whether you have added the port number. If not, browser will add 80 as the default port number. So that is why when you visit websites like BIT.LK and so on, you don't specify the port number because by default web servers listen to port number 80 or the web servers bind to port number 80. So therefore, if you do not specify the port number, the browser always set it to 80. So therefore, if you are lazy to type port number, what you can do is just bind it to 80. Then, because that is the default port number for web browsers, web servers, now you need to restart. Okay, restart it. Now you don't need to specify, just you can type localhost and enter. Uh, you will get the response. You will get the response. Why I'm not getting response? Why is that? Let me restart. Right. You need to type local HTTP localhost. Right. HTTP localhost. But I have not typed any port number now, but I get the response. Right. I get the response. Or I need to type :80, not 8080 now, :80. Uh, but if you don't specify 80, my browser will always send 80 as the default port. It will check whether you have typed 80 or any other port number. If not, it will send 80. So therefore, when you work with Node.js, easier thing is you always bound your applications to 80 because anyway, that is what you do in real world software development. Okay, right. So the other thing is whenever you do a change, right? Whenever you do a change, you need to restart, right? Stop and start, which is a headache. So therefore, there's a third-party tool which I have added that also into your note under appendices. Uh, that is, there's another third-party package called Node.mon. So if you install this third-party tool, when you start Node.js, now we used to use node and file name. So then you can just say Node.mon and file name. So the advantage is then when you do a change, you don't need to restart your server or stop and restart it. It will automatically pick that file has been changed and it will restart internally. So therefore, it's always advisable to install Node.mon module, right? So let's do that also because otherwise it's a headache, right? So I just now it's not Node, no npm because I'm installing uh, another external module. So -g means install it as a global module that is available to other packages also. Anyway, I have already installed Node.mon. but I will again install it. Okay. Why is that? Yeah, maybe because I type it, copy paste this. Okay. So npm install. Yeah, that is because I copy paste it. Sometimes there can be invalid, right? Invalid characters when I copy paste it from other places. Okay. Right. So now it has installed, or maybe already it was there. Right. Now easier thing is now I can just say node mon and the file name. Okay. So the advantage is now I again start it. Right. So now again you can see it has given you some messages also. I should be able to get it again because it's anyway 80. Now if I do a change, say I will just say hello world 123. You don't need to right. You don't need to restart it. It will redeploy it. Right. You can see. So you can just keep doing your changes, right? You can just keep doing your changes and save it. You don't need to restart your server. It will be automatically picked. So that therefore, easier thing is rather than using the node tool, node command, first install nodemon and always start it using nodemon. It's just like rather than node and the file name, nodemon and the file name. Okay. Uh, and you can see that it is getting restarted. You can see restarted due to changes and so on. Okay, right. So those are a bit of improve your productivity, right? Right. So let's continue our discussion. Now we have sort of a hello world Node.js file, which we have sent a simple header and simple body message. Right, nothing fancy. Okay, nothing fancy. Right. So as I told you, if it is 80, you don't need to type 80. You can just say localhost. Okay. But otherwise, you need to type your the port number. Okay. Right. So now let's see how to work with bit of how to access the URL, how to access the request, and so on. Okay. Right. So remember, for any URL, now you are getting the response, right? Say localhost. Even I say foo, I get the response. So, but can I get any idea about what is the current URL user has sent this? So, okay, so let's start from something like that. So if you want to access that, your request has a parameter called URL. So remember request, it's object, dot notation, in programming, request object if it is a property. These are built-in objects. So therefore, these are built-in properties. So you can use the URL property, right? You can use the URL property to uh, access, or you can check in a if condition or whatever. Right? So second example is all about accessing your URL, and also you can write to log console.log. So that means if it is a client side, it will go to the browser log. Server side, it will go to your command lines log or any logger you have set up. You can even set up log files separately so that it write to a file. So that is beyond your syllabus. Uh, there are third-party modules also that you can use to do logging, but this is just you log into the your console log. Okay, right. So let's start this one now. This is 02. Right, I will stop it now. Uh, Now I keep using the node mon, okay, rather than node 02 and tab. Okay. So now I will again it has been bound to 80, I think. Is it 80? Yes, 80. Uh, so we'll say I'm using localhost/foo. Here also we are sending the response also we are sending. Okay, say Aurora. Sorry, it's Aurora, not Aurora, not Aurora. So here also you should see it in the log. So that is how you access the URL, but this is not the way to handle different. We call them routing, but this is the very basic, right? If you really want to identify what is the current uh, routing or URL, your request object has a property called URL. Right. So gradually you need to familiar with these simple concepts. Okay. Right. So the next thing. So if you need the breakdown of because URL can have query parameters and so on. So that your URL has you can take your URL uh, and pass it. The URL has a method called pass it so that you break it into small sub properties, right? Or sub object. That object has your big string is subdivided into sub properties. So then you can use that object. These are all object. So when you pass your URL property using the pass method, you get another object, and that object has these sub properties as the other sub details as sub properties. Path name separately, search, query, and so on. Okay. And if you have any parameters, those parameters also you can access. But there is a easier way to do that. But this is the raw way, right? Pro way. Okay. Right. So that is what we test in our third example, query.js. But there are easier way to do this, right? Easier way to access your query parameters and so on. But this is a very basic way, right? Without using any third-party packages and so on. Right. So now I will start the third JS tab. Now, if you look at the code, we expect that you send a query parameter like name, age. If you don't set it, of course, you will not get the output like that. Right. So let's just, and again, we have bound it to 80. So therefore, we don't need to type anything else. I just send it as Nalaka. Right. Sorry, just localhost. Okay. So that is why it's undefined, because name is undefined, age is undefined. Okay. And here also it says undefined because when we take the query part is now null, empty. Okay. Query part is empty. Okay. So if you want to, now this assume that we have said name and age is the query parameters, right? Query parameters. So that means you need to send it like question mark, name, say equal, say Dimal, uh, ampersand, that is how you separate query parameter, key value pairs, say age equal 20. Now it says Nimal and 20. And here also you can see the query parameter is now not null. And it must be in this format. Query parameter start with question mark, then name equal value. Ampersand, name equal value. Here name is name, okay? Right? Ampersand, name equal value. Okay. Right. So that is how you access query parameters also in a very raw level. But there are easier ways to do this. Okay. Easier ways to do this. Right. So now we are going to use uh, connect module also. Because when we use connect module, our life becomes a little bit easier. Okay. So connect is, I think, built-in module. No, you need to install it. Right? Built-in, not a built-in module. So you need to install Connect also. I will explain the difference. So far we have been using HTTP module, which is a built-in module, right? So you can just say require and use it. And also here we use URL module also, which is built-in module. So that is why I did not install any of these modules. But Connect module is a third-party module. Okay. So let's npm install connect. Right. So now connect is also installed. So when you install, more and more folders will be added here. So all installation is happening inside this node and module folder. Right. So you can see connect folder. So likewise, when you install more and more third-party modules, so those are getting copied to downloaded from internet, and those are basically again sort of a JS files mostly and other files. Okay, right. Now we are going to use the connect module together with HTTP, or we can use it only connect module also. Right. So this is a bit of a comparison between HTTP and connect module. So remember here we use HTTP module uh, to create the server. Create the server. Okay. There's another way to do that. Of course, multiple ways are there. So connect is obviously external, therefore you need to install it. So HTTP is a low level. So that gives us low level access to your request response and so on. But connect module give us little bit high level access. So that is what we need, like as software engineers, try to work at high level. When we work at high level, the tasks are easier, less coding. But there are situations you need to go to low level because that task is more detailed, fine-tuned task. So therefore, as software engineers, sometimes we work at high level, sometimes we work at low level. So that is why we have different technologies also. For example, Java is bit of high level technology, whereas C++ is low level technology. So therefore, for low level things, we prefer C++. If you want to do things at a little bit higher level, we prefer C sharp, Java. Okay. So this is also like that. If you want to do things in low level, working with request response, use HTTP. But if you want to do it in a little bit high level, so that you can concentrate more on business logic and so on, use connect. Okay, connect module. And also Express, that is our MEA and E is Express. So Express also use connect internally. Okay, so therefore, anyway, when you install Express, internally connect is also installed. But here we are not going to use Express, but we are going to use bit of connect here and there. Okay, because it's more middleware type of a high level uh, module. That module give you a little bit of high level features. Okay. Right. So this time what we are going to do is we are going to build a simple application rather than actually we are going to use it to get both HTTP and connect. I told you that we can use it together also. So earlier we used only HTTP module without connect. Now we are going to start our server with a combination of connect and HTTP functionalities. Right. And again, you can see that the coding is also getting simpler, right? So this is a simple connect, simple web server. We are starting and sending a simple response, but this time we use HTTP and connect modules together to start our server. Okay, right. So let me start that. Right. So this is our code. I will bind this to 80 because then much easier for me. Okay. Here it's hard coded, so therefore I just say it's running at 80. So there what we do is, because we need to require the connect. Okay. No, this one is only using, yeah, this one is only using connect, right? Without using HTTP. So I told you that we have different options. So this one is 100% depend on connect only without HTTP. This example, uh, right? So you can see we have required the connect module. Then we have create a connect object, and then uh, we have to call the use method and listen method. And this is again our port number. And as usual, we have the uh, anonymous function with request. Now this time we have request, response, and next. So this is why we call it middleware. We can change methods. So this method handle bit of processing and ask the next method to handle the next bit of processing. So that is how you modularize your application. So one specific task is done by one method and next bit of task is done by another method. For example, business logic processing is done by one method. Security is done by one method. Logging is done by not one. Logging means write into a log files and so on. Rather than everything is written in one method. So that is where the next method is handy. Okay. But here we are not going to use that next parameter because this is just hello world using connect. Okay. Hello world using connect. Right. So let's start this one. This is 100% connect only. Okay. Without HTTP. Zero 04 connect.js. Okay. Right. So let's, anyway, it's just a hello world application. I'll just type localhost without any port or whatever. But this time we start the server 100% using connect module without using the HTTP module. So you can see there are multiple ways of doing things. Okay. Because HTTP is little bit low level thing, but connect module is little bit high level. And later we will even use express, which is even high level way of doing things. Okay. Right. So you can see the difference between this one and this one. Right. So this is using HTTP and this one is using connect. Okay. Using connect. And this example is using bit of both. Bit of both. So you can see there are different approaches. Okay. Different approaches. Right. So this is 100% using connect. Right. Connect alone. Right. So this example I have not added. Right. So this example you can do it by yourself. Okay. This example is not available in my code base. That is using both. Right. So as I told you, the big one of the advantage of using connect is you have this next parameter, the third parameter. So that we can use to call the chain your methods. So you can do bit of processing and take the rest of the processing to a next method. Okay. So that different functionalities can be added to different functions. Right. So security is for one function, logging is for another function, business logic is for another function, and so on. So that kind of flexibility is there when you use connect module rather than HTTP. Actually, HTTP module is used mostly for you to understand the concept. Then most of the time you work with connect, or later we can use express. Right, it's even high level. Okay, right. So let's start that one also. Right, so this is connect and HTTP combined use. Okay, I will start that one also. I always start with 80, right? Because it's easier. Right, so this is the fifth one, that combined approach. Right. So again, I will just type, right? Hello from connect. No, actually, this connect and HTTP together, we get it. Okay. So we can see that we can start our service in different ways, right? Different ways. Uh, that is what is mean by this Node.js approach is very flexible, right? So you might feel like it's difficult, yes, obviously it is difficult. The only thing is you don't feel whether it's difficult or not because you have not worked with most of you guys, unless you have done self-learning, right? If you have worked with server-side processing using PHP, JSP servlet, actually it is easier than this. It is easier than this. Right? Easier to learn, easier to use, right? But only thing is you have less flexibility there, right? As long as you are only working with those technologies, you don't feel it. One thing is you need heavy server. Other thing is because this is very lightweight process, right? Very lightweight process. But they are to even when you start your server, it take a lot of resources, memory, processing power. But this is very lightweight, just few megabyte is taken by your processor because performance is super important for web application because sometimes you get thousands, not thousands even, right? 100,000 users accessing your web server, your web application. So that is where the lightweight threads can handle the response and it can just garbage collector, right? So that is another advantage, scalability, when your servers are very lightweight. Okay, so Node.js is very lightweight. And also, though it is little bit difficult, more coding, there are multiple ways of doing things. So that is what is mean by flexibility. You are not bound to doing this way and that way, right? Some technologies enforce you to do things in a particular way. But in Node.js, you can do things in multiple ways. The best possible way for your application. Low level, high level, and you have full control, right? No, bit of more coding, but bit of more freedom also, right? Flexibility. Okay, right, right. So that is HTTP connect combine example. Right. So now we move on to uh, that method chaining. Method chaining. So here you can see we use the connect. Okay, and then we say use logger. That is this function, and then we say use hello. Okay, then we let's bound it to 80. Right? So this is basically we are calling this function. This is basically we are calling this function. So this function is basically doing only logging. This function is creating your response. Another function will test the security, check the security, and so on. So now you can see we can modularize our code, modularize or break it into small functionalities. So so here you can see this function call the next method. So because of the next method only, the calling like this doesn't work. You need to call next. And if you have the end here, if you call the end method, so that means you are not chaining. That is the end of it. That means asking it to send the response now. Okay? Send the response. So that is the difference between end method. Okay? And other methods. Now here we use only end method because that is anyway end. That is anyway end. But here, uh, if you don't end it, you can let the last function end it. Rather, you just call the next function. Okay, so let's run this one also. So this is our sixth example. Sixth example. Right. Again, we are not binding it to a particular URL. So therefore, just typing localhost is enough. Or because even port number is 80 default. And this logging is coming from this function. This function. And then it calls the next method. So the next, therefore it called the hello because our next one is hello, and it set the header and uh, end with hello world, end with hello world. And this basically uh, log the method then URL. Method then URL. So URL we already use. Now this time we use method also. Because we can call it with get method, post method, put method, delete method, and so on. When you type in a URL and send, it is always get, right? So if I type here, say localhost slash foo, still it is get. But now you can see get, and my path is foo. Path is foo. So therefore, method will give you the whether it's get, post, and so on, and URL will tell you what is the URL. Okay, right. So there's another interesting tool you can use to make your life easy. That is Postman tool. So I have added that also into your appendix. Right? Your appendix. Uh, so this is the NodeMon tool. This is the uh, Postman tool. So Postman tool is really useful when you are doing web development as well as web services. Right? Web services are in your semester 4 syllabus, enterprise application development. Uh, so this Postman tool, you can download it from the website. Go to the website and download. Just download the whatever the version, whether you are using Windows or whatever. Uh, so it has a free version, right? You will not see there's a free option. There's a very tiny place. They say try Postman. Okay, I don't think that it is getting expired. They will try to sell you the Postman tool. No, there's an option for in your installation, tiny place. It said just try it, right? Try it. Then I don't think it is getting uh, expired. So then once you install it, uh, you can start your Postman, right? Postman. It's a tool that we can send web request without browser. Without browser. This is really helpful in testing your uh, programs, web applications. Okay, so this is once you install, it's just a normal installation. This is your when you start. This is what you get. Now remember in the browser also, I just type right, in the browser. Right, in the browser, I just type localhost slash foo or just localhost. Right, so let me copy this. Now in the Postman tool, there's a sort of a browser URL bar, right? URL bar. Let me maximize it. Right, URL bar. So I'll type localhost slash say bar, BAA bar. Okay. And then here you can select whether you are going to send a get, post, put. Here we have all these things, right? Delete, head, options, and so on. So I'll say because in browser you can only send get, post. If you want to do a post, you need to create a form and make the method as post and submit it, right? But if you want to quickly test something with especially post, put, uh, and so on, this Postman tool is really useful. So anyway, I'll use get. Now my URL is localhost slash bar. Then I will say send, right? I'll say send, and this is my output, hello world. And if you look at the here, you can see it's bar and it is get. Now remember, browser you can send only get, otherwise you need to get a form to post. But here, if you want, you can just change it to say post, post, and submit, send. Okay, so again I got hello world. Now here you can see it is post. So what we got is a post from the tool, right? Of course, browser also can send post, but you need to get a form or something. Okay. So likewise, now you can see that we are getting, say, even I can send something like put. I got hello world. So now it is a put and the URL is bar. So because we have not in our code, right? We accept anything, whether it's get, post, put, we don't care. Right? What are the possibilities? Get, post, put, delete. Those are the basic four. Basic four uh, methods. Right? Get, put, post, delete. Other than that, you have the fetch and head also, and also options. Okay, but these are the basic things. In method submission, you can use either post or get. If it is get, data is sent as part of the query string. If it is post, your data is sent without query string, still the data is sent. Okay. And here you can send key and values also. You can see key values, whether it's get or post, you can send your key and values here. Type key, type value rather than your query string. Question mark, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, this is very easy when you're testing or unit testing and so on. Okay. Right. Right. So let's get back to our discussion. Right. Now we have used connect module also. And we know how to change also using the next call, right? Using next call. But again, you need to call them. But if you don't have this next, right, you will not get the response. It's hang. For example, if I now remember, now this is working, right? This is working. But if I comment this, just because you call this, it doesn't mean this is getting called. It will be hang. For example, now if I refresh my browser, okay, you can see it's keep running, running, running. I will use a different browser window. Right? I'm not getting a response. So therefore, if you don't call for next method, right? If you do not call next method, it doesn't automatically give the control to the next one, right? So therefore, make sure you call the next method. Right now, I change it. Right. So now it has picked the change, and therefore we got it because it has picked the change. I saved it. Okay. Right. So this is another example where we have multiple uh, middleware. We call them middleware. Uh, right. So you can see we are calling next method, and this one has the end. This one has the end. Okay. This one has the end. Now this time we do not call separately. We just let the natural order of things. So the first one is this one, then this one, then this one. So all three are called. We don't call it separately because then it will be the natural order will be used, right? From top to bottom, top to bottom. So let's start this one also. Do we have this code also? Yeah, method chaining example 2. So then first one is this one, second one is this one. But anyway, this is not the best way to do. Again, I will bind it to 80. Okay. Right. So this is our 6 example 2. example 2.js. I'll refresh. Just localhost. You can say hello from connect with next. So that is coming from here. But before that, it should have log. It should have log this one, and this one. You can see middleware 1, middleware 2, middleware 3. It's basically using the natural order. But again, you need to make sure you call the next method. Okay, next method. That is how you basically modularize things. Okay, modularize things. Right. So the next thing is we can make sure that now remember that now one of the drawback of our application so far is whether I type localhost or type localhost slash nalaka or I type anything else, Nimal, XYZ, I get the same response. XYZ, but in web application, different URL paths are supposed to do different things. So then how do you handle or how do you make sure that different routing or different paths are handled by different methods? So for example, in our website, Aurora CSLK slash bit gives you the bit related details. Slash FIT gives you the FIT related things. Slash A level ICT gives A level ICT related things. So how do you do that? So next example explain that. Okay. So this time we have, okay, let me, right. So you can see that when we call the use method, these two methods have two parameters. So your variable name, right? But before that, you have the URL path. So that means if it is localhost slash hello, handle it by this method. If it is localhost slash by, handle it with this particular method. But if it is root level, that is just the localhost, handle it by this method. Okay, so now the root is also handled, two other URL paths are also handled. Likewise, you can have any number of things. Okay, any number of things. Again, I'll make it 88. Right, so let me run this. So now we have different URL paths handled by different methods. Okay, right, so this is the seventh one. I just use the node mon because I can change things. Right, so now if I just type localhost, it is handled by the logger part. Right, logger one. So it just write it to the console, write it into the console, nothing else. But if I type slash hello, that is handled by this method. So it should give me response call hello world, right? Response call hello world. Okay, right. So let's see slash hello. That means different URLs paths are handled by different methods now. Right? It says hello world, right? It says hello world. Now if I type bye, it says goodbye world. Okay. And always the logger is called because it's in the root level and it called the next But this one is only relevant method is called. When I send with hello, it is not calling this. It is only calling this and this. When I use with by, it only call this, not this. Okay. But logger is the top level one. It is always it is getting called. Always it is getting called. But the other methods are called only when it is required or when path is matched. So if you want, you can add another one, another one. So now gradually you can have different URLs respond by different responses and they are doing different things. Okay, they are doing different things. Second function, you don't need this next method because that's the end of it. That's the end of it. Because we don't want to call this and then this. Because these are mapped to two different URLs. Right? So if you have the end method, don't use next method. Don't use next method. Okay. Right. Right. So the next thing is we can create our own modules. We can create our own modules and use. Now we have used the built-in modules like HTTP, and we have used the third-party modules like Connect and so on. Right. So the third thing is you can create your own modules and build your application as a module application. Like utilities, you can create as your own modules. Maybe that module is sending an email or integrate with another web service so that you can use it in not only your web app, in another web app, reusable code module. So that is sometimes we call it, remember in software engineering, we call it reuse oriented software development. We develop system as a set of modules, right? Reusable modules. Right. So we don't know, go into details. We just develop a very simple, tiny module. I think we did this example last class, previous class also. Right. So your modules must also be put it into JS file. Right. JS file. So in our case, it is called mymodule.js. It just return you the date, current date. Okay. So then we can use it. We can use it. How to use it? Just like you require other modules. Remember, even internal modules you need to require, just like package import, right? In Java. So when you require, you just say dot dot means current folder slash your subfolder or your submodule. Sorry, not subfolder, your submodule file name without JS. Right, without JS. If it is in a subfolder, you need to give the folder name also because my first module is in Java. So my first module is a Java, JS file, this one. So therefore dot slash file name without JS. Okay, but if it is in a subfolder, you need to view the folder part also. So that is how you require it. You can give it to any variable. Now you can start using the functionalities declared in that module. Of course, in our module, we just have a function called date time. Okay. So other JS file just should be there. You don't need to start it or whatever. Right. So now we'll start this one. So this is our eighth one. Demo local module. Again, we have not mapped it to any URL. So therefore you can use any URL. Sorry, not. I think we have mapped it to the we have make it to 88. I will just change it to 80. I just change it to 80 so that I don't need to type this. Right now, We have not mapped it into any URL anyway. Why we are not getting it? Should I use only the root? I think it says local HTTPS. Don't use HTTPS because HTTPS use different port number. Make sure it is always HTTP. Okay. Right. So even different, say foo/foo also should work. Right. So as long as HTTP, we have not map it to any URL. I can type /foo or /xyz or whatever. Okay. Earlier, what happens was my browser has changed it to HTTPS. Of course, if it is HTTPS, it is not 80. We rely on the default port number, okay? Because we don't type the port number. Right. So that is likewise, you can add your own third-party modules, or you offline take modules and use it in your app. Okay. Right. So that is another example using third-party module called random string. Right. So then this is a third-party tool which has a method called generate, which create a random string for you. Right. Anyway, that you can use it, do it by yourself. Right. So if you're interested in file handling, there's another, I think that is a built-in module. Yeah, built-in module called FS. So using that module, you can read files, write to files. That is, if you want to write your login to a file. And also you can use this to load static files in a very raw level. There are better ways of doing that also. But if you have a static HTML file, which is not dynamically created, right? So you can read that file and send it. But there are easier ways of doing that kind of things using Express. Remember what we discussed is the hard way of doing things, low level way of doing things in Node.js. So once you are comfortable with Node.js, you can use high level way of doing things using Express and other frameworks, right? So always the first we want to understand the basics, right? So this example explains how to work with the FS module and use the read file method. You need to give the file name, uh, right? And here we just get the content and send that content as the output. And therefore this demo file must be separately saved. I have saved it separately. It can be any name, but make sure you use the same name. And now our HTML file is that. HTML file is that. So this guy just load it to using the read method. Right? So we just read it using the read file method, and that content is sent to the output. Now you can see here again we use anonymous function. Anonymous function. So it has a ERR and data. Data parameter has the content of this at the runtime. If you get any error reading the file, that will be available in the ERR parameter. Okay, so this is a different way of doing things and more compact way. And again, we are writing it to the response. And here we manually end it. We write it and end it. Again, I will put it into 8080. Sorry, 80. And this is the 9th example. Right. Again, it is not mapped to any URL path. Right. So this is the content of this HTML file, my header and my paragraph. Right. If you change anything here, you will get the those as well. Okay. Delete that dot. Right. Now the dot is not there. Okay. Right. So the next thing is you can work with MongoDB. Right. You can use with MongoDB. Right. So that is Node.js connect into MongoDB. So your UCSC note refer to that also. So basically, this covers almost everything in your Node.js part, in your UCSC Node. Uh, so they use little bit older approach, but of course, if you want, still you can use that old approach. But when you start, you get a lot of warnings and so on. So therefore, I just use the new approach because I'm pretty sure they will not ask code level things for connecting to MongoDB and so on. Actually, they have asked very simple things only, right? So if you have gone through the past papers, so they have just asked very, very, very basic things like how to connect. Require a package and simple things. Okay, how to use a npm tool and that kind of things, right? So this is more for your confidence because it's not only exams, right? uh, because a lot of students ask me, uh, request me to do a little bit more about this Node.js part because they want they are curious. They wanted to learn more about Node.js and so on. That is why I'm doing this session, even though it is near to exams. But this confidence is very important, right? You when you go to exams, what you take is your confidence. Your memory can anytime get short circuited, right? So that is why very small number of students pass BIT at the end. I mean, final year, right? Your memory can survive maybe first year, but after first year, things are getting more and more challenging. So then it's all about your confidence, your maturity that move forward due to the end of your BIT and possibly into the IT field jobs. So it's a different story because we know it. We know it. Right. So memorizing things doesn't work at all. Maybe semester one, even not semester two. Right. Semester three, four, never ever. It's only those students who understand things, serious about things, they will survive. Others will just filter out. Right. So this is how to connect to MongoDB. First of all, you must have start your MongoDB. Right. Right. So we'll do this part after the break because it will take a bit of time. No, just one example. Yeah, we have done only one example. Let's finish the Node.js and take the break. Then after the break, we can concentrate on Express. Okay. Yeah. So it will take another 15 minutes. Right. So let's first start MongoDB. Uh, I will start it using Compass. MongoDB we have already done. Okay. How to write queries and all those things. And I'll just create a connection. Right. Add new connection. So these are default values. Connect. Right. So this is my database. I will delete this MyDB because we are referring to the database called MyDB. Okay. I will delete this. MyDB. Drop the database. Remember, MongoDB is a document-based database where we can save documents without binding to hard and fast table structures, primary keys, foreign keys, because we are interested in saving semi-structured data, not structured data. Okay. Yeah, my battery laptop is going lower. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for reminding. Actually, I forgot it. Just give me 1 minute. I will connect my power. Nice. Yeah, thank you for reminding that I completely forgot it. Okay, otherwise, all of a sudden I will be disconnected. Right now, I'm back with the. main power. Right. So we are going to do few examples, just 2 or 3 examples. First one is, uh, again, you need MongoDB uh, module, which is, I think, external module. So therefore, let me install it in case MongoDB uh, npm install MongoDB. I think it's external module. Right. Why I'm getting error? Not found. Maybe O is missing. MongoDB. Right. So it has been installed because your UCSC not used it bit all the way. That approach is yeah, it depends on your usages. Basically, I'm using my local database. Okay. Right. So your UCSC not did use little bit old approach, but when we install, we get the latest modules. Okay. So therefore, sometimes these latest modules gives you warnings and so many things. So therefore, I just use uh, the new way of connecting to database as well. Because in the exams, they will not ask code level things, right? Right. So this is how you connect to in a new way. Your UCSC note has slightly outdated approach. This more object-oriented way. Don't worry about the coding. Just get a feeling of it and also start developing systems using MongoDB, Node.js. That because your life is beyond exams, right? Exams is also important, but exam is not your life. Exam is not going to make you a successful person, uh, right? But your confidence, your understanding, your attitude, that is going to make you a successful person or not your BIT results. BIT results is not going to do anything, especially in private sector. Right? It will let you, if you have good results, it will facilitate you to go to the interview. But beyond the interview, it's all about your confidence, your attitude, your personality, your skills that decide your future. Okay, just remember, because we are now living in 2025, right? Especially if you go to some other country, Western country. So they are, we call it meritocracy. Meritocracy means 100% things are based on merit, right? Merit. So that is why now you know that there are not only there are some other institute conducting BIT classes. We know that because we do a sort of a, because they are our competitors, right? This is a private sector. They are our competitors. We keep eye on what they are doing also. Okay. So we know that they have different discounting programs, right? Some they give discount to university students, right? And some give discounts to religious, like religious people, right? Not the how do you call them, right? Monks and clergies and so on. And some gives discount to teachers, right? But we only give discounts to merit. If you have A level good results, we give merit, 50, even 50% discount because we operate on meritocracy, right? Not your, we don't care about your jobs or your religious things and so on. We only care about how talented you are, right? Because we can't evaluate your skills, right? That is why otherwise we will evaluate your skills and give the discounts, okay? Because so therefore, your BIT degree or whatever may help you get the interview, but not going beyond that. in the private sector or any other country. Maybe government sector. එතකොට ලංකාවේ ඇතුළේ ඉන්න ඕනේ මැරෙනකම්. මොකද ලංකාවේ ඇතුළේ government sector එකේ කරන සෙල්ලම් කරන්න බෑනේ පිටරට කරේ කියලා මැරෙනකම් ලංකාවේ ආණ්ඩුවේ රස්සාවකට යනවා කියන්නේ ලංකාවේ ඇතුළේ මැරලා යනවා. මුතර මතක තියාගන්න. මොකද ඒගොල්ලන්ට පිට ගිහිල්ලා වැඩක් කරගන්න බෑ. එතන තියෙන කල්චර් වෙනස්නේ. මෙහෙ මැරලා යන්න ඕන නම් ආණ්ඩුවේ ජොබ් එකක් කරගන්න. ආතල්ලගේ ඉඳලා මැරෙන්න පුළුවන් හැබැයි ආතල්ලගේ කකා බිවි ඉඳලා හැබැයි ඉතින් එහාට ලෝකයක් ඕන නම් ප්‍රයිවට් සෙක්ටර් එකේ ජොබ් වලට යන්න ඊළඟට පුළුවන් තරම් ඉක්මනට රට යන්න බලන්න මොකද ලංකාවේ ආර්ථිකයේ හොඳ තත්ත්වයට නම් එන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක අපිට 100%ක් කියන්න පුළුවන්. හරි? ඒක 100%ක් කියන්න පුළුවන් නිකන් තාව යන විදියට ගෙනියන්න පුළුවන්. හරි? මොකද මේ ගවර්න්මන්ට් එක කරන්නේ නරක දේවල් කරන්නේ නැහැ හොඳ කරන්නේ නැහැ. මේක අර දෙකටම නැති එකක්. හරි? මේක නිකන් අර පතෝල ආණ්ඩුවක් කියන්නේ දැන්. නරක දේවල් කරන්නේ නැහැ. රටක් දියුණු කරන්න ඕන දේවල් තියන්නේ. රටේ ආර්ථිකය වැඩි කරන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ දුබායි, දකුණු කොරියාව, ජපානය කරන වැඩ කරන්නේත් නැහැ. හරි? ඒතකොට නිකන් ඔහේ තියෙන පතෝල වගේ තියෙන. හොඳත් නැහැ නරකත් නැහැ. යෝ. එහෙම රටක හරි? Right. So this is how you connect to the database. First of all, you need the URL. Remember, MongoDB start in 27017 port number and of course localhost. So you need to require MongoDB. So then you need to create a Mongo client object. Mongo client object, you need to send the URL. Right. So then you need to call the connect method, get the connection. මේ ඇවිල්ලා මේ await අනම් මනම් වලට බය වෙන්න එපා. ඒ ඇවිල්ලා asynchronous විදියට call කරන්නේ. හරි. ඊර වෙන්නේ නැතුව call කරලා ආ ඊළඟ වැඩේට යනවා. හරි. connection එකකින් හම්බ වෙනකම්. So don't worry about those things. exam එකේ වහන්නේ නැහැ. So then you use or create if this database is there it will be used, otherwise you create this. And then we call the create collection method. මේවා ඇවිල්ලා නිකන් අර මේ අරකම තමයි මොනවාද? MongoDB command එක තමයි. Right? Create collection method, and in MyDB database we create a collection called customers, and that's it. We just create a collection. We don't insert any records. But once this page is accessed by someone, I just drop the MyDB database. MyDB database must be created, and inside that customers collection must be created if connection and everything is correct. Okay, right. So let's start this. So this is 10. Even if I drop that database earlier, and you can see collection created. Right, collection created. Now let's go and see. You need to refresh this. Still, there's nothing called MyDB. But you can refresh this. There's refresh button somewhere. Yeah, refresh databases. You can see MyDB database collection, but no records. No records or no documents. Database is created, collection is created. Anyway, you don't use web pages to create databases. Rather, you use web pages to insert documents, update documents, retrieve documents, and so on. Right? But this is just to show you how to get a connection and check whether your connectivity and everything is working. Okay? Right. So next example, insert one record. Of course, this is hard-coded. Ideally, user enter data using form, you access those from the force method or something, right? Then you create your document, maybe JSON object and write it. That is how really work. But here we are only interested in see whether we can insert a JSON object, okay? So next one is doing that. Let me show the code. Right. So again, we require MongoDB, create a client, we connect and switch to MyDB. If the database is there, right, that's it. So then we set our focus to the customer's collection, and to that collection, we are inserting this particular, you can see, this is our collection, customers. There's a method called insert one. To that, we are sending this JSON object, right? JSON object. So then you get the result. So the result has uh, object ID, because object ID is machine generated, or MongoDB generated the object ID. If sometimes you need the resulting object ID, that we can log it. Okay. If there's an error, it goes to the catch. You can see the try catch finally. You learn in Java also. Same concept is there, right? Try catch finally. And finally we close it, because whether it's success or error, you need to close the connection. Otherwise you are keeping the connection. Right. So you must just concentrate on this insert one method once you get the collection. Okay. So, right. So let's access this one and see whether the record is going there. And this 11th one. Right. You can see this is object ID. This is the object ID. Even you don't need to access it, because this is a MongoDB example using Node.js. But these things must be done when you submit and blah, blah, blah. Okay. In reality. Then now let's go to the MongoDB and see whether the record is there. Again, you need to refresh. Right. Now, if I go there, you can see there's a Charlie, Cherry Road, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that is what we inserted. Uh, yeah, Charlie, 789 Cherry Road. That document has been inserted. Now, if you want to insert multiple records, there's another method. That is called insert many. Insert many method. Other everything else is the same. Now you can have sort of an array of JSON objects. Array of JSON objects. Okay. So make sure you call the insert many, because you know whether it's a one record or two record or whatever, right? Right. So here we are not binding it to servers and so on. This is for 100% working with MongoDB only. Okay. Uh, and here, if you are curious in coding, because here we are just using parameterized things. So then this is not quotes. This is not single quote or double quote. There's a special character for this one, not special character in your keyboard. Uh, in your special character part, you have this particular character. Just use it, okay? Not the single quote or double quote. If single quote or double quote is used, you will just get this output, not the value, okay? Right. So now let's start this one also. Right. So this is your 12th one. Right. Right. So let's see whether we have inserted many records. Need to refresh. So there must be a refresh somewhere else. Okay, let's refresh it from here then. Right now you can see three records. Three records. That is two records and previous record. Okay, previous record. Right. So the next example, we update a record. We filter it by Charlie, because there's one record with name Charlie. And there's one record with name Charlie. So there are two records with name Charlie. We change this Cherry Road into something else. Okay. That you can start it and double check by yourself, because it's working. I have already tested it. Okay. I have shared you the code. Okay. Right. So that's it about Node.js part, right? Including the database handling. Right. After the break, we will moving into Express.js part. it doesn't take much time. Okay. And it's very easy actually. The Express using Express is easier than using Node.js at row level. That is the whole idea, right? So now what we discuss is the hard way of doing things. Next we will discuss a little bit high level, easier way of doing things. But still the Node.js, but using Express.js uh, middleware infrastructure. Okay. Uh, where is my code? Right. Express. So Express is your E in mean stack, MongoDB, Express, okay, uh, Node.js. Right. So Express is server side, backend again, MVC framework, or you can call it a middleware framework, right? Middleware framework or MVC framework in a conventional terminology. Uh, and again, there are some frameworks which now now when it comes to framework, there's something called libraries and frameworks. Okay, so it's a very interesting topic, but I can't take a lot of time. So when we work with software development, we work with libraries, frameworks. So library means, for example, remember we used to include some libraries. So basically, libraries for our application, it gives some service. It's a helper, utility, right? We call the library and get some usage. But frameworks are different. So once we commit to a framework take the control. And we need to code according to the framework. Right? We need to code according to the framework. So it's like we are sort of a slave of framework, but framework gives us a lot of features. So for example, there are MVC frameworks. Uh, like for example, in PHP, there's an MVC framework called Laravel. So then we need to create our files in a different specific folder structure. We need to extend certain classes and so many things. It's right. So of course, the Laravel framework gives you a lot of functionalities and it gives you the architecture. But at the same time, we must strictly follow their structures and so on. Okay. So therefore, use of framework is a serious decision, unlike library. Now, good news about Express framework is it's fairly minimalistic. Minimalistic means it's give us the minimum functionalities so that we have a lot of flexibility. So we don't become slave of the Express framework. While it gives us a lot of help, it doesn't try to bind us to Express way of doing things. So it's bit of both. It's bit of both. Give us certain functionalities without compromising our flexibility much. Okay, so that is what people like Express like frameworks. It provides features like supporting routing, templating, uh, right, and other middleware, method chaining, and so on. Okay, if you want, you can build web applications purely Node.js without Express, but then your workload is little bit high. So when you use framework like Express.js, your workload is less. You can work a little bit at higher level. Okay. And also it has lot of support for RESTful APIs, web services. Okay. And also we can easily integrate single page applications. Okay. Right. So we are going to create a new project because we have created a lot of files here. Okay. Uh, so I'll call it, this is I call the revision. This one I will call express revision, okay? Or revision express. Revision, earlier one is Node.js revision express. And this is where we are going to have our code, but because it takes time, I will copy paste the code from my previous project, okay? Otherwise, I need to copy paste or type code, okay? Let me copy paste. Some folders are also there. I will copy those folders also, but not the node modules that when we install third-party modules, okay? These folders also has certain files, okay? Which we need. Actually, we are supposed to develop, but because of the time constraint, I'm just copy pasting, okay? Right, so revision express, okay? So these folders also has some JS files, okay? HTML files, I will explain, okay? Sometimes JS file, sometimes. And this one has something called EJS file also, right? Template file. Right. We will using those things. First, I want to take my command prompt to there. Right. CD dot dot one level up. Then CD revision express. Right. As usual, we need to initialize our project npm init. මතකද අපිට හැමතිස්සෙම yes කියලා ගහන්න ඕන. If you are okay with all those default values, you can just type -y. එතකොට ආයේ අපෙන් ආහා ඉන්නේ යා default values වලින්ම වැඩේ කරනවා. ඊයේ පාර අර අපෙන් යවන්නේ බට්ටෝරුවක් නේද? I will say -y. අපිට ආයේ default values වලින් ටක් ගාලා project එක හදලා දාන්න. project file එක. Right, so that has created the JSON file, package JSON file. Right now we are ready. Let's do it fast. First, we need to install Express. Obviously, Express is the external module. npm install Express, okay? Right now, we are not going to use any database and nothing for the time being. pm install Express. Okay. Right, so this is sort of a simplest Express application, Node.js application that use Express. Okay, I'll show you the code straight away. 01 hello. So you need to require Express. දැන් මතකද අපි කලින් හැදුවා HTTP use කරලා ඊළඟට connect use කරලා. දැන් HTTP නෑ connect උත් නෑ Express use කරලා කරන්නේ. ඇත්තටම Express internally connect use කරනවා. Right? So therefore this is even high level. And once you get used to Express, you will never get back to pure Node.js because this is much easier, obviously. Okay. But that understanding is super important, low level understanding. Right. So first you need to require Express. Then you create an Express object. You can bind it to a port. I will keep the port as 80. 80. So then it's super easy. You don't need any boilerplate codes and so on. So this is how you use different routers. So you have the app.get, app.post, different methods. So this is, we are writing a method for default route to the root level, and it is handled by this particular anonymous method. And there we just send hello from Express. Okay, hello from Express. That is for root. And if you type slash about, and if you send it using get, we are sending this response. Okay, so it support root and about. Other URL path are not supported. And just you need to say app.listen, the port number. Port number is given as a variable here, constant. So therefore we bind it to 80. Okay, 80. Right, that's it. You can see it's super simple. Right? You don't need this. Right? You can see things are getting simpler. Right. So let's start this 0, 1. Again, I will use uh, mod node mon, right? Node mon 0, 1. Hello. Right. Right. I can access the root also because it's 80. I don't need to type the port and hello from Express. That is this particular method has handled it. And again, we support about slash about. So let's type slash about local or slash about. And it says this is sample express app. This is our sample express app. Different output that is coming from slash about. But other URL patterns are not supported. What happens if you type slash foo? It says cannot get foo. That means that is a sort of a default response because there is no such thing. That is our framework. The Express framework has given this output, right? Express framework. This is the default output because we have not written any method. But if you write a method for that, that will also be handled. Say you want to handle slash foo, so then just slash foo. So after sometimes it will become easy. I just say foo because we are using node.mon. You don't need to save it also. Restart the server. Now I should get a response. Right. So once you get more and more familiar, you can web development will become much more comfortable thing. Right. So you can see all of a sudden things are getting simpler. Okay, things are getting simpler. So these are the things we have done. We have used the get methods because we are supporting the get routing, not post, put, and so on. And then we bind it by using the listen method. And inside your get method, so post method, you can, because you have the rec and res parameters, it's anonymous method. You can use the rec, res, and send it. And rec can be used to again access the query parameters and so on. Much more compact manner. Okay. Right. So rec, using rec parameter, you can access the query parameters as well. So our next example, use query parameters, right? So, but you're supposed to send the query parameters, like in this case, we have mapped it to greet URL part, and we expect that you will send name and age because we have assumed that you are sending name parameter and age parameter. And so let me start that one. 0, 2. You can see things are getting simpler. Now we are only supporting /greet and let me make changes to 80. 8 greet. You can see name. I have not sent the query parameter. So therefore it has, now we check whether you have sent the query parameter, whether name is available. So since name is not available, you are giving the sort of error message saying just send me this. Okay, now let's, if you have sent the name and age, you will not get into this. Rather, you will come here and your parameters will be print. Okay. Right. So let's send the name and age. At the end, you need to say question mark name Ravi equal Ravi ampersand age equal 20. Now we got it. Now we got it. So therefore, we have now got the name and age. Okay. So that is why you say hello Ravi, your age, blah blah blah. Okay. And you can use Postman tool also. Right? Postman tool also. Like, query parameter and say, oh, we got error. Because this is post. I need to change this to get because we have handled only get. I change it to get and post send. You got the same output. Right. And here you can see the query parameter. Now you can see this is when you send like that, either you can send like that or you can use this. When you send like that also, it has filled this. Name Ravi, age 20. Okay, so rather than send like this, you can even type here the query parameter. So therefore, this is a little bit easier for doing testing and so on. Okay, right. Now we use Express. Okay, Express. Right. So here we use only get for this particular route. So if you want, you can have post. Right, you have the get, post, put, delete, and if you want to handle all, that means get, post, put, delete, everything, you can use all. So that means whether it's a get or post or put or delete, this method will be called. This method will be called. So this example show all these methods. Okay. So post is mostly used for form submission. Get is when you are requesting a page or something. Okay. Put is when you want to something like upload something like a file. Delete is you're asking your web server to delete some resources like a file, image. Maybe I have uploaded my photo, I want to delete it. So you need to call put delete method. Right? All means whether it's get, post, put or whatever. This if you don't care about it and maybe just you do some logging and so on. Usually we use these kind of things for logging. We can use the all. So then always this method is called. Right. So we have used the get, post, put, delete for hello route and all for test route. Okay, test route. Now this can be tested because put and delete post you can directly send from your web browser. You need some HTML code. So therefore we can use Postman. Right. So let's start this. And easier thing is test using Postman. Right. So this is our third example. Third example. Right. So get part we can test using browser. Okay. Get part. So get is handled by it is handled for hello route. Hello route slash hello. We can test from there also. Localhost slash hello. Right. Why not? Why can't I? Why don't get it? This must be handled right. Hello. Let's type it again. HTTP localhost hello. Why don't I get it? Maybe I have not saved it after changing the port. Change the port, right? Port is 3000. Let's change it to 80. Or there I need to type 3000. That is why I'm not getting the response. Okay. Now it should have, yeah, restarted. Right now I should, maybe I have got the response, so now I can send the response. Right. Still I am not getting response. I change it to 80, right? Three handle done. For some weird reason, it has not detected error. Maybe let me restart and now send it. Must be HTTP localhost hello. Now I got it. I for some reason it did not detect it. Okay, but I can't send post and other things using browser, so therefore I'll be using Postman to test. Okay, Postman to test. Now I am sending using get. I got hello get. Now I change it to post. If it is post, the output must be hello post because now it must be handled by this. Hello is the path, post is the method. I change it to post and I got hello post. Okay, hello post. I think we have handled put also, but we are not doing any practical thing. Just check with the correct method hello put and also hello delete. Right, hello delete. So now you can see that when you use Express, it's very easy because we have separate method get, post, put, delete, and you need to just give the path, URL pattern, and your anonymous function, which has request and response. Okay. And all these, whether it's get, post, put, whatever, if you have the old method, it will be called. So therefore, I have put it into the slash test. Otherwise, there will be conflict. Now, if I send test from slash test, any request get post, this will be output will be test get post put delete. Okay. So let's use browser to send the get, but this time my path must be test. You can see because all method is going to work. Of course, other things I need to send using Postman. Right? So let's say delete. You can see test get post. Right? Say it is put. Right? I always get the response because I have written the all method for test URL path. Okay. Right. So let's do a small form handling also because we have the post. Of course, form can be either method is get or method is post. If method is post, make sure you write post. And if this action is submit, make sure it is slash submit. Right? This name is your URL path because you are submitting it to this particular route URL pattern. And because we are using post, you need to make sure that the route is submit, but it is post, not get, because we are sending post. If you change this to get, make sure this is app.get. Okay. Right. So I have the code with me. This is my submission handling method. Right. A post, submit, and I have put my form to public folder, right? Public folder. Okay, let me open that folder. I just create a folder called public. Okay. So it has normal HTML port. So remember earlier we used to send this by using file read. Read this file and send it to the user. But when we use Express, there are easier way to do that. I told you that there's an easier way to send HTML files. So what is that easier way? Right, you can see serve the HTML forms. So your app has a method called use to send any static files. So this is from public folder. So that means the public folder can have your is your default folder. It can be any file folder name. I just call it public. You can see public, and we are sending the form. Okay, form, because that is what we are serving. That is what we are serving as a static content. Then the response is handled here. Response is handled here. Okay? Response is handled here. So now we are going to start it. Our fourth one. Sorry, for tab. Okay, formal in JS. I forget to change the route this to 80. Anyway, it should be picked. It should be picked. Right now you can access it. Okay, now you can access it. Just make sure you use the correct file name. Free form HTML. Sorry, for form HTML in my case. That is, you don't need to say public, right? That is our public folder. Anything from that folder is sent by your server. Any file in that folder is sent. You can see. So that is, I did not specify the file name. I just specify that any file from this folder must be served if the file name is correct, right? So you can specify multiple folders also. So therefore, that file is in the public folder. Therefore, when I request slash file name, I my web server has sent this. Now I will type my say Nimali at gmail.com. Now I submit. So what happens when you submit? We submit it to using post and to the submit URL, submit router, and submit route is handled. Submit route is handled for post method. Yes, we have post. So therefore, we from the request, we access the name and email properties because those are the two properties, name and email. And that just we are sending the response with your whatever the submitted name and email. So let's submit and see. Yes. Form received name Nimali, email nimali@gmail.com. Just to show you that we have received it. Okay. So that is a simple form submission. If you want to set it like get, make sure that your method is get. Okay. And also you know how to register a public folder or static file serving folder. Of course, this folder name can be anything. So then when someone requests a page, if it is in this particular folder, that page is sent to the browser, static pages, images, and anything. Okay. Right. Root of routers. Now, now we can't handle all the routes, different routes in a single page, right? So that then this page is going to be huge because your one app file or server file handling all the routes, all the methods in single file is this file or this particular JS file is going to be huge. It's not maintainable then, right? It's like a sort of a mess. So now we want to modularize, break our functionalities into like say slash exam handled by one particular file, slash inquiries handled by one particular file, right? Slash register handled by one particular file. So then your main file, your main app file is going to be much compact, right? So that is what we are going to do because that is what MVC framework and that is what the framework must let us do. Break our functionalities into smaller chunks so that different people can concentrate on different functionalities. Then we have multiple files, otherwise everyone is waiting for one particular file so that because X is editing that file. So that is not practical. So we need multiple functionalities in multiple files. So that is where these routes are handy, right? So there are two options. One option is you create it as different applications. Same web server, but different application, different routes handled by different applications. But that is not the best way to do. So then that is actually then it is more modularized. But another approach or better approach is just one application file, but that application break your application into different routers. Okay, so again we have created a folder called routes to keep a JS file, and this is our main JS file or application JS file. Okay, uh, so I have a router demo file. Okay, router demo file, but it says if it is slash hello, let it handle by this particular router, hello router. So that means this file is not going to handle slash hello URL request. It must be handled by hello router. And hello router is in the routes hello.js, route subfolder hello.js. That means slash hello requests are handled by hello.js. Now here you don't have the JS, but it should be hello.js file in the routes table folder or any other folder. You specify here, or you can say it is handled by slash hello folder, right? But in this case, routes folders hello.js file. Likewise, you can see another one, say by handled by router. And by router can be in routes slash by. So that different route files. So in this case, it is this particular JS file. There you have the get. It says root because this is root for the slash hello. Right? This is the root for slash hello. That is why we say root. But this root is not localhost. This is hello because this is the hello route file. Right? Hello route file. You can see this is slash hello handled by hello route. Hello route is in routes folders hello.js and it has it handle the get method, likewise post method and so on. Right. So now we need to start our route main file. That is fifth route demo. Now if I let me change the port 80. Right, it should have been detected. Detect on that. It hopefully detected. Now I am going to type slash hello. And it must be handled by this route file and it must say hello from router. Let's say router 123. Right, localhost hello. Hello. And we got, that means it has been redirected to this file, and this file we have the get method. So this file, it is like root with root, because this is the slash hello router file. Okay, router file. Similarly, you can write post method and so. Now you can see that we can subdivide our different functionalities into different JS files. Not only we can have the different methods chaining, now we can different routes, different functionalities, payment functionality handled by payment route file, control, register functionality handled by register controller, or route is basically the MVC architecture's controller, right? Controller. So then database handling is done by model. UI part is handled by view. So view can be used with template engines like that. We will do a small example of view also later. Okay, right. So that is how you break it into different routes. Routes are your controllers in MVC architecture. And not only that, your routes can have parameters. These are very important in web services, right? RESTful web services that you will learn in semester 4. We can parameterize. Okay, right. So I'll show you the code and explain because that is easier. Now we are going. Now we are done with the routers. Now we are coming back to normal functionalities. At URL, let me change this to 80. Let me start this app also, then I will explain. This is the 6.1. 6.1. Right. Now what we are going to do is look at this code, only this code. Okay. So we are into the root again. We don't have separate routers, but you can see that this colon ID. So that means I can type this localhost slash. If I say 10, my ID is 10. If I say 11, my ID is 11. So likewise, this is very important. Something like you are inquiring, we are searching something like product with ID 1, product with ID 2, ID 3, or send me the details of student call name. Sorry, student name call name with name Nimal, with name Kamal. So one way is you can use query parameter. Yes. Second way is you can straight away use slash Nimal, slash Kamal, slash Amal, or slash 10, slash 5, your IDs. So this is how you use it. So in this case, we just send the ID back to the as the response. Okay. Now let's see what happens. If I type localhost slash 1, the ID you specified is 1. Say 90. Now I'm not sending it as ID equal or something, question mark, nothing. I'm just the normal URL slash my ID. Of course, it can be even name also, but we are expecting that your ID, right? But if I say uh, ABC, so that means now it looks like different URLs, but actually we are sending a particular data. This is much more compact way rather than using question mark, ID equal blah blah blah. Okay, so that is called parameterizing your URLs. So this will make more sense when we discuss about RESTful web services. So you call web service sending, say ID, say product ID 10, send me the details, product ID 12. So this is a very simple way of sending that additional details. Okay. So that then we need to get this and do a database query like MongoDB query and get the data, and maybe you send the JSON related to that product. So that is how the practically work, right? So we are just learning bit, right? Nuts and bolts and blah blah blah. It is your task, of course, after the exams, right? Collect all these knowledge and start building applications. Right? මේ දැන් ඇප්ලිකේෂන් එකක් හදන්න ඔයාලට අවශ්‍ය nut bolts නේද? ටික එහෙම මෙන් අමුණ කියලා දෙනවා. ඔය ටික එකට එකතු කරලා ඔයාගේ ඉමේජිනේෂන් එක පාවිච්චි කරලා රික්වයර්මන්ට් එකකට ඇප්ස් හදන්න පුළුවන් ඊට පස්සේ. Right, so that is parameterized or parameterized routes. Right, remember I told you that the main use of Express is use it as a middleware. Do bit of processing and give the rest of the processing to another file or another method, give it to another method. Of course, we can do it without Express also. Right, we discussed that using the next method, pure Node.js, because that make it much more modular. We do bit of processing and give it to the next method, give it to the next method. Or you say, okay, that's it. So how do you do that in Express? Right? How do you do that in Express? So I will first show you the code and explain, okay? Middleware chaining, 7th one. Let me be connected to 80. Let me start it also, then I will explain, okay? Right, 7th one. Right, so look at the code. We have created Express app, and you can see we are using the use method and call the next. Right, use method and call the next. And here we have the get method for root and call the next. Then again, use for root. Okay. And of course, we bound it to 80. You can see everywhere I am calling next. Next. Okay. So these are different middleware functions. Now we can add different functionalities into different methods. Different functionalities in different method. Of course, this one we don't call next because that's the end of it. Okay, that's the end of it. Right. So now if I call, because we are interested in the root level, okay, so therefore just the local host, nothing else. It's middle because that is the one we send to the response, right? What we send to the response is the middle. Here we are not sending any response, but we only log, but we log start, middle, end, all three. And you can see start, middle, end, all three has been called. All three has been called. Okay. Because it's a, now what happens if I send it to a URL path? Like URL path, not to the root. Something like, say, foo. Right? I don't get the response here because there's no get for foo. But you can see start and end has been called. Start and end has been called because these are not bound to any URL path. Right? Start has been called because of the next, end has been called. But this is not getting called because this is get for root. This is not for foo, but this is common. So you can see these are common functions. And again, it called from top to bottom. Top to bottom. First this one, then this one. And if it is mapping with your URL, this one also getting called. Okay. So still we have not got any response, because the response, you will not get the response. After some time it will time out by your browser. Browser will say no response and it is time out. Okay. Right. So then there are some third-party parsers as well, middleware. Sorry, not parsers, middleware. Uh, so those middleware will do specific tasks. Specific tasks. For example, body parser middleware can extract some details from your response request and so on. Cookie parser can be used when you want to handle cookies, retrieve a cookie, set cookie. Express session can be used third-party middleware if you are interested in handling sessions. So these are third-party you need to install, because these are external modules. So then you can use it by referring to their documents or help system. What are the methods available? Right. We are not going to do any of these things because your UCSC note has also just mentioned these things. But it has mentioned a little bit more about the session. Maybe if you have time, just see how session is handling. Maybe just the method, just note down from your UCSC note and go in case they ask, because the UCSC note has discussed a little bit more about the session handling. So then you must know the view part. Remember, these routes are controllers. We did not discuss about model because model is going to communicate with the database, MongoDB or MySQL or whatever. So then view, we have so far our views are just we write it something like this, sort of hard coded things, right? But that is not the best way to do. So that means that your controller has UI related things. We are right into the UI. So ideally, your controller must not write your HTML, CSS, and so on. That must be separated. And your controller should just pass that data to the view. Your controller's task is not create the view for UI. Just send the required data to the view and let view show it. Show it using HTML, CSS, and so on. So that is where we use that is the view part of the MVC. And in this particular middleware, Express, it support different template engines. We call it templates because we get the data. Your view has the template. It's not hard coded your data. It has placeholders for your data, and data must be sent to you by your controller. And there are different template languages, template techniques. In your UCSC note, refer to EJS templating language, embedded JavaScript templating language. There are some other templating languages also supported by Express. Okay. But since your note has referred to only EJS, I have added just one example, right? So if you are using EJS template engine, make sure you install EJS. Let me install. npm install EJX. Okay, right. Now we are going to start 8 right, EJS demo. First, I will explain. This is our last example. Right, so it's again Express application. You can see we have set the app method has a method called set. We have set the view engine as EJS because remember we have different template techniques. EJS is one of the technique. So therefore here we say our view engine or our template engine technology is EJS because there are some alternatives to EJS. Okay. So I told you that this is not, we are binding to one thing. So this framework is very open. You can even select what is your template tech engine approach, template technology. So here, because your UCSC not refer to EJS, I just use EJS. So then this is the get route for root, right? So there we have created a data, JSON data. This is just a data of JSON object. And then we call something called render. Render. To that, we are sending our data, and this is the view name. So that means if you get a root level, if you get a root level request to web server, we call the view called index. But to that view, we are sending this variable. If this is x, you are sending x. Then of course we are binding it to and starting the server. Let's call it 80. Right. So then you need to create this file. Right. This file. Uh, Let me hard code this to 80. Otherwise, someone can misunderstood. Right. So now our file is, we have put it into views. And remember the name is index. So therefore you need an index, but this is a EJS file. This is not a JS file or HTML file. No. Actually, this is pretty much like HTML file, but you must give the extension as not HTML, rather EJS. Right? EJS. I have shared you the code. The code, the zip file has all these files. Right? But this is basically HTML file. HTML file. But you can see we have placeholders. Right? So this is the exact syntax we use in JSP also. JSP servlets. In semester 4, you will learn servlet. Uh, this is the exact thing we use, and similar notation we use in PHP also. So that is why I told you, if you are already familiar with PHP, JSP, this is nothing. Okay. But now you can quickly go into the JSP, PHP topic if you are new to those things. Okay. Right. So here we are referring to the name and age because we have already set those. We have already set the name and age, because remember when we call the index render, this is my view name index.ejs file, and this is I'm sending the data. And if you have another data, you can send another, say name, age, and email. So then you can refer to email also here. Okay. So that is what is people template. This is your template. The template have the view part, but data is sent to the template by your controller. Pass on the fly, and at that time different for different use request, these values will be different, right? So that is dynamically creating the view and send it to the user. Now let's access it. Right, so we have written it to the root level, right? Yeah, root level. So then the output will be, we have hard coded it to Alice and 25. So the welcome Alice, you are 25 years old, because we have hard coded. මම කිව්වේ තැන් තැන් වල ඇනමුරිච්ච ටික තමයි කරන්න. ඔය ටික එකට එකතු කරගන්න එක තමයි ආගේ වැඩ. එකතු කරලා මොනාරි ඇප්ස් හදන්න පටන් ගන්න එක තමයි තව පොඩි පොඩි දේවල් ඉගෙන ගන්න. So let's say localhost, because we have written it for the default root. Haven't we started? I restart global localhost. Right, welcome Alice, you are 25 years old. Okay, so that means the data has been passed to this EJS file, and EJS file has extracted the data. Now if I change this, say rather than Alice, say ask me. say 30 years old. If you want, you can set another data, right? Say comma, email. This is one way of sending, right? There are multiple ways of sending. Say askme@gmail.com. Now I can refer to email also. Email. I don't need to restart because I'm using Node.mon. Let's refresh. You can see. Welcome, ASME. So these data may be depending on what you submit from your client or something retrieve from your database. So these things will be different for different users. Yeah, so that is what is we want template. Okay, template. So we use EJS. Okay, EJS. Right. So actually, some students have asked me how to learn uh, mean stack and so on. So the best way to learn mean stack is actually most of these things I generated from ChatGPT. If I am not happy with the example, I ask it to generate me a simpler example. Right? For example, if you want to learn about now, you have some idea about Express, right? So this is 2025. So go to ChatGPT, right? Generate a tutorial. You can say simple or very simple. Simple මදින කියන්නේ තව ටිකක් simple කරලා දෙන්න කියලා. හරි. Simple tutorial. දැන් මම තාම කරපු නැති පොඩි පාර්ට් එකක් තියෙනවා. ඒ තමයි මොකද්ද? Single page application development. Let me courses BIT send to web application development. දැන් මේ ඔක්කොම කරලා තියෙනවා. හැමදේ චූටි කොටසක් අර අනිත් ඔක්කොම කව කරලා තියෙනවා. Node.js ඔක්කොම කරලා තියෙනවා. MongoDB connect MongoDB ඔක්කොම මත කලින් කරන්නේ. ප්‍රොජෙක්ට් එක හදන විදිය, connect module or the connect middleware, routing, then building Express applications, request object, response object, MVC pattern, handling routing, making separate router files, adding router files, separate router files. And also rendering views. හරි EJS view එකක් නිකන් hello world එකක් කරා. මොකද මේවා අහලම නැහැ. අහලම නැහැ. හරි නමුත් පොඩ්ඩක් දැනගෙන ඉන්න මෙන්න චූටි rendering පාරක් title කියලා දාලා මේ කිසිම දෙයක් දැන් අලුත් තේරෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන්න බෑ. හරි. පොඩ්ඩක් අර sessions තියෙනවා. මම session වෙලාවක අමුණු පොඩි note එකක් update කරලා දාන්නම්. හරි. ඊට පස්සේ MongoDB ත් එක්ක වැඩ කරන්න කොහොමද? හරි. MongoDB ත් එක්ක වැඩ කරන්න කොහොමද? flood operation එකයි. දැන් ඔයාලට Angular මම කරේ නෑ. ඔයාලට Angular කියන්නේ client side පැත්තනේ. single page. single page කියන්නේ මුළු web application එකම එක page එකකට ගන්නවා. ඔයාලට ඉගෙන ගන්න හොඳ නම් ඕන නම් හොඳම වැඩේ මොකද? ChatGPT ට කියලා කියන්න. Generate a simple tutorial on Angular. or simple beginner level. හරි එයා තවත් simple කරලා දෙයි ඊට පස්සේ. error එකක් આવත් ඒකත් ගිහලා clean strip එයාට තමයි කියන්නේ. beginner level tutorial, what is Angular, prerequisite, මොනවාද HTML දන්නවනේ CSS දන්නවනේ JavaScript දන්නවනේ Node.js දන්නවනේ එහෙනම් පුළුවන් කරන්න තනියෙන් ඉන්ස්ටෝල් කරගන්න Angular ඊට පස්සේ චූටි ඇප් එකක් රන් කරන විදිය කියයි ඊට පස්සේ ඇප් එක මොඩිෆයි කරන විදිය කියයි ඔන්න ඕවා ඉගෙන ගන්න 20 25 හරි අලුත් ටෙක්නොලොජි ඉගෙන ගන්න දරපට ගාලා ඊට පස්සේ ඕකටම එයාට කියන්න මේකට තව ෆීචර් එකක් දාන්න ඊට පස්සේ ටික ටික බලනවානේ ඒ ෆීචර් එක තියෙන එක්සැම්පල් එකක් කරලා දෙන්න හරි okay දෙයාන ටියුටෝරියල් එක ඕන zip file PDF එකක් කරලා දෙන්නද කියලා right so we stop at this point so you have another exercise session on Friday Friday we will do past paper discussion on web development right so then again Saturday weekday I'm going to have you will be having two sessions Saturday and Sunday both Saturday class එකක් තියෙනවා Sunday class එකක් තියෙනවා Saturday afternoon මම try එකක් දානවා Saturday morning එකක් ගන්න පුළුවන් නම් ගන්න then Sunday you have the normal session then maybe Monday Tuesday අපි තව sorry Monday Tuesday ඕනනම් දෙකක් දාන්නම් තව එතකොට ඉවර past papers ටික ඉවර කරගන්න පුළුවන් ඒකට තව class 6ක් විතර වෙලා හරි Friday Saturday Sunday Monday Tuesday කරාම තව දවස් 5ක් class 5ක් තියෙනවා class 5කට කරනකොට ඔය past papers ටික කව වෙනවා හරි right so we stop at this point